Bilal was 22 years old, a university student in his final year. He had always been a dreamer, imagining a bright future where he would graduate with honors and land a prestigious job at a well-known company. He envisioned himself working in a modern office, confidently leading projects, and earning a salary that would allow him to take care of his family and travel the world. He often spent hours daydreaming about this perfect future. In his mind, he saw himself giving motivational talks about success, inspiring others with his journey. He would imagine the applause of an audience, the admiration of his peers, and the satisfaction of achieving everything he had ever wanted. But despite all these dreams, Bilal struggled to take action. He convinced himself that he had plenty of time. Instead of studying, he would stare out of the window, lost in his thoughts. He believed that someday things would fall into place, that he would magically wake up and become the disciplined, hard-working student he had always aspired to be. He would always tell himself, "Tomorrow I'll be better. Tomorrow I'll study." But tomorrow never seemed to come. Each day was filled with distractions, social media, video games, pointless conversations. Time slipped away like sand through his fingers. He often made excuses. "I need a break," he'd tell himself, even though he hadn't done any work yet. "I'll focus after I eat." But then he'd watch TV for hours. The cycle continued, making him believe that there was always more time. His friends and professors noticed his decline. He barely met deadlines, stayed up all night before exams, and often made excuses for his poor performance. His best friend Hamza tried to intervene. "Bilal, you keep pushing things off. One day, it'll catch up to you." Bilal laughed it off. "Relax, I work best under pressure." But deep down, he knew Hamza was right. He had a major exam coming up, one that would determine his final grade. Yet, instead of preparing, he wasted hours scrolling through social media, watching videos and sleeping late. The guilt would come in waves, but he silenced it with distractions. His mother also noticed his behavior. "Bilal, you used to be so focused. What happened?" He shrugged. "I'll fix it, Ma, don't worry." But his worries began to grow. His grades were dropping, and the anxiety of failing started creeping in. Yet, he still couldn't bring himself to start studying. The night before the exam, panic finally set in. He opened his books, realizing how much he had neglected. The information looked foreign, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't absorb it all in one night. He felt an overwhelming sense of regret. He whispered a desperate dua, "Ya Allah, help me. Give me one more chance to fix this." But time was ruthless. The sun rose, and his exam was in an hour. He had barely retained anything. He hurriedly flipped through his notes, but the words blurred together. His heartbeat pounded as he rushed to campus, hoping for a miracle. His hands were clammy as he walked into the exam hall. He sat down, staring at the paper in front of him. The questions seemed familiar, but his mind was blank. He struggled to recall answers he had once known. His pen shook as he attempted to write something, anything, but nothing made sense. The invigilator announced, "Last 10 minutes." Bilal's stomach twisted. He wasn't going to make it. He felt a wave of hopelessness settle over him. It was too late. The exam ended, and he left the hall feeling hollow. A part of him still hoped for a stroke of luck, but deep down, he knew the truth. Days later, the results came in. He had failed, not just the exam, but his entire course. He would have to repeat a whole semester. The weight of his failure crushed him. The dreams he once had seemed distant now. His friends moved forward while he was left behind. His parents were disappointed. His mother didn't say much, but her sad eyes said everything. His father, who had worked so hard to put him through school, was silent. The silence was worse than words. Bilal sat alone in his room, staring at the failed exam paper. Regret burned inside him like fire. He remembered the hadith, "Take advantage of 5 before 5, your youth before your old age, your health before your sickness, your wealth before your poverty, your free time before your busyness, and your life before your death." He had wasted his time, and now he was paying the price. No amount of dua could fix what his own laziness had destroyed. His mother knocked gently on the door and walked in. Seeing his distressed face, she sighed. "Bilal, my son, you always had potential. But potential means nothing without effort." Tears welled in his eyes as he whispered, "Ya Allah, I was a fool." He thought about all the times he could have changed, all the opportunities he had ignored. He had let himself down, let his family down, and most of all, he had wasted a blessing Allah had given him: time. Bilal eventually repeated the semester, but things were never the same. His friends had moved on. His confidence had shattered. The weight of failure followed him. He finally understood that procrastination wasn't harmless. It had stolen opportunities he could never get back. His social life suffered. People he once called close friends were now busy with their own lives, discussing graduation and job offers, while he was stuck rewriting exams. He felt left behind, trapped in a time loop of his own making. One evening, he received a message from Hamza. "We're graduating next week. Will you come?" Bilal stared at the screen. He wanted to reply, but what would he say? That he had wasted his time and was paying the price. That while they were moving forward, he was still trying to fix his past mistakes. As he watched others graduate ahead of him, he wished he had taken his responsibilities seriously. But life had already moved forward, leaving him behind to pick up the pieces. He tried to rebuild his life, but the scars remained. Each time he sat down to study, anxiety whispered in his ear, reminding him of his past failure. Even when he finally completed his degree, it was bittersweet. The joy of success was overshadowed by the pain of what he had lost. Don't let procrastination steal your future. Learn from Bilal's mistake before it's too late. Time is one of the greatest blessings given to us, yet it is often taken for granted. Every minute wasted is a moment we will never get back. Life does not wait for us to be ready. It moves forward with or without us. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not intelligence or luck, but discipline and effort. If you have dreams, act on them now. If you want to change, start today. Small steps lead to great progress. The road to success is not paved with wishes, but with consistent effort and patience. And always remember, our time in this world is limited. On the day of judgment, we will be asked how we spent it. Let's strive to use our time wisely, so that we do not live a life filled with regret. Indeed, Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. Your future is built by what you do today. Start now.